Hi everybody, my name is Justin. Welcome to Game On, show all about tabletop gaming from RPGs to board games and everything in between. We got a viewer request for a Call of Cthulhu build. This subscriber, who I'm friends with on Discord, asked me to build a character, or to build characters based off of like famous characters that we already know, so that they know how to better build an archetype for themselves. So how, like, if they wanted to build an investigator, like a private eye, or they wanted to build like a really good professor, based off of somebody that they like from movies or TV shows or books, how could they do that? So this is a series where I'm going to be building characters based off of kind of pop culture, books, movies, TV shows, to fit into our Call of Cthulhu games. And today, in our inaugural episode, we are going to play as James Bond. We are going to build James Bond in Call of Cthulhu because a lot of people want to play kind of that private eye and maybe law enforcement officer, but maybe some of them want to lean into like government agent. And I wanted to build, show you guys what a government agent like James Bond would be. So let's get over to the character sheet and build ourselves James Bond. Okay, so before we get going, I want to let you know that we are using, on page 48, we are using the quick fire method for character creation in Call of Cthulhu. Again, that's on page 48 of the Keeper rulebook. And the reason why we're using those numbers is because I can ensure that all of you will have the same numbers I do. Some of your keepers might want you to use the regular method where you roll and then multiply things by numbers or point by. If you do have to use that with your keeper, try to allocate your points or your scrollers that you roll randomly into things similar to this. Try to get yourself as close to what I have here, but if you do use the quick fire rules, which I think is a great way to just build a character anyway, if you want to get a whole bunch of characters built quickly, using the quick fire rules on page 48 will make sure that you all have the same numbers that I do. So for our quick fire rules, we all get the same numbers for our characteristics. So we have an 80, a 70, two 60s, three 50s, and a 40. So we're going to start off with those up here. And these are basically, from what I understand from the movies and from the books for James Bond, and that's why I'm using the numbers that I have. But I'd love to hear in the comments how you guys would switch things around. So I put a strength at 50. I think James Bond is, relatively strong. He's relatively dexterous. I wish I had another 60. I would have put 60 in dexterity. For intelligence, I gave him the highest I could. I think that James Bond is a very smart man. Even though sometimes he doesn't act the smartest, he is quite smart. Constitution. I'd say that he can take a lot of mental strain. He has been tortured in a couple different scenarios, so I put his con at 60 because I think that he can withstand physical pain quite a lot, and he can handle his drink pretty well. Appearance, I mean, come on. Ian Fleming describes him as a rugged yet handsome man. And having a 70 in our appearance is very well likely to let your keeper give you a bonus die when you're making a charm or a fast talk against the lovely ladies that you're talking with. I put a POW of 60. I say that he has quite the mental fortitude as well. He can survive, again, being tortured and being interrogated without really breaking so easily. His size is 50. He's a standard built man. He's not terribly tall, not terribly short. I put the lowest at education of 40. I do know that his education is a little bit higher than that, but I had a 40, had to dump it somewhere, and I'd like to think that he has better street smarts with intelligence than he does maybe book smarts with education. So that puts our sanity at 60 out of 99. Luck is a big thing in Call of Cthulhu, but I can't tell you what the luck is going to be because everybody has to roll their luck on their own. And with our size and our con added up and divided by 10, that will put us at 11 hit points to start out with for James Bond. So let's go on over to the skills. Okay, so for our James Bond character, we are given an array of numbers that we can use for our occupational skills, plus 4 sets of 20s that we can use for our non-occupational skills. So let's jump into it. I want to say that we do have a 70, 2 60s, 3 50s, and 3 40s. So remember that we are going to add the floor that we have on this. So let's take a look at Charm, which is where I put our 70. Charm is going to have a 15 floor on it already. You already have 15%. I put a 70, so we have 85. He is quite the charming fellow, so that's why I put that there. I put the 60 on firearms handguns because he has that Walther PPK that he is pretty good in. He does have a license to kill. He knows how to use that. I kept the rifle shotguns with nothing a blank. He has a floor of 25. I'm used to seeing him using his pistol in my mind. He can use shotguns and rifles if he needs to. Maybe your keeper will lend you a bone and let you use a bonus die or something. Circumstantial bonus dies in those situations. I put a listen because he is a secret agent. He's really good at like hearing people and understanding what's going on. I put our 60 there, one of our 60s there, which bumps it up to an 80 because we have a 20 there already. Persuade, I put with a 50, which is going to bump it up to bump it up to a 60 because we have a floor of 10 there already. I also put Fast Talk with a 50. We have a 5% there. Again, he's really good at getting himself out of binds. He can fast talk his way out of trouble. So that puts it up to a 55. I put our drive at 40. He is a good driver. You know, you see all these car chases. So that bumps it up with the base of 20 to a 60. I have our psychology. So psychology in this is kind of like a sense motive, like you would find in like Pathfinder or D&D. It's got a base of 10, so I put a 40 in there, makes it 50, because he's good at reading the room, he's good at reading people. I put a... where did I put the other? I put a 40 in survival, which has a base of 10, so that makes it 50, because I think that he's really good. Had he, you know, I think, was it Goldeneye? He crashes out in the middle of snow. He's able to get his way back to society. So he kind of knows what he is doing with that. And then our last 50 I put in stealth, which has a 20 floor, which I made it 70 because he can be sneaky. As for the 420s, which are non-occupational skills, though I think they are quite occupational in this sense, I put our first 20 at sleight of hand, making that 10% a 30%. He is good at nabbing things if he has to. Same with track, with base of 10. I think he's good at following footsteps and finding where somebody went. I gave him locksmith as a 20. Locksmith, this is everything so far I've given you. I'd probably give a modern day if you play this in modern day, but in 1920s Call of Cthulhu, I'd give him locksmith. But I might, if I was in modern era, ask my keeper what would be more important for like key cards and like opening up, like hacking. I might say electronics or computers, because I do believe it's like from Goldeneye onward you see him less lockpicking and more like trying to get his way into like electronic blast doors. So that's why I think maybe you would switch out locksmith for electronics or for computers in modern day. And last but not least, I have first aid, because first aid, I think all field agents would know how to do emergency first aid on themselves if they get shot or hurt in any sense of the word. Now, as for what I see in his head, in my head, for James Bond, I always see him with a Walther PPK. I'm not a firearms expert. I don't want to pretend like I am. From my research, a Walther PPK is a 9mm, and there are only two 9mm handguns in the game. You have a Beretta M9 or you have a Glock. Both have basically the same stats, except for I think the Glock has a bigger magazine. The only thing that I switched is that I think the Beretta says it had 15 rounds in the magazine. The Walther PPK only had 7, so it's up to you, and if you want to take the hit on a lower mag count, or if you just want to totally reflavor the Beretta M9. So I had a lot of fun doing this, building James Bond in Call of Cthulhu. I never really thought to do that, but now I can see why it would be such an interesting character and archetype to play. I do like leaning into the investigator law enforcement role, so this sounds really interesting to me. I'd love to hear what you guys have to say in the comments. What would you switch? What would you do slightly differently from me? Would you do something completely different from me? What do you guys want to see me build next for Call of Cthulhu? Once again, my name is Justin. I thank you all from the bottom of my heart for watching, and as always, game on.